Robert Plank Show, episode 197, Million Dollar Platform. Create a dream business, find your specialty, and scale your business with newsletter guru Jim Palmer. Hey everyone, and welcome back to the Robert Plank Show, where we talk about building an online business. Our guest is Jim Palmer, and he's a marketing and business building expert and in-demand coach. Jim is the founder of the Dream Business Academy and Dream Business Coaching and Mastermind program. He's the host of Dream Business Coach TV, the hit weekly web TV show watched by thousands of entrepreneurs and small business owners, and he is also the host of Stick Like Glue Radio, a weekly podcast based on his unique brand of smart marketing and business building strategies. Jim is best known internationally as the Dream Business Coach and creator of No Hassle Newsletters, the ultimate done-for-you newsletter marketing program used by hundreds of clients in 9 countries. Mr. Jim, welcome to the program.
Robert, thanks for having me on.
I'm glad that you're on. And so I understand that you are a coach and you help people to grow their business. Is that right?
I do. That's what I spend most of my time on these days.
Awesome. And so as you're coaching people with building their businesses, do you see any commonalities? Do you see everybody that is maybe stuck in the same spot or maybe needs help in the same sorts of areas?
A lot of people, one of the things which is kind of a sticky point, is they don't have the proper branding. They don't have the right marketing. They don't know what their main offering is going to be, and so they just try and be all things to all people. So that's one of the first areas we look at, is where, if they have an ongoing business now, where's most of the money coming from? What are people who are finding you now? How are they searching, and what are they landing on? And so that's usually the first place we go, is we gotta fix their brand.
Okay, so you're saying is that the common thing that people are doing is maybe they tried a bunch of different things and they said, well, I'm going to try making money from this app or this website or this other offering, and maybe that worked for a few months or a few years, and now it's years later, and maybe they just have all this crap in their business, for lack of a better term, and maybe they have all these things running, but maybe some of them are making money and some aren't, and they need to sort of clean house a little bit. Is that right?
Well, it's part of it, but I think really it's a lack of focus. There's lack of planning, lack of focus, and not a clear understanding of who your best customers are that can serve your business. And one of the ways I do that is I ask them. A lot of people have different streams of revenue. So you may have, for example, I have a coaching program. I do live events. I write books. I'm out speaking. I have 5 different internet companies. So there's all different things. But if you were to look at what's the number one thing, well, it would be the coaching business. But that all stems from me having created multiple successful businesses, and therefore, put myself somewhere out in the limelight, and people want to say, well, how'd you do that? Can you help me do that? So there's a whole strategy, and but you gotta figure out where the money is now, but more importantly, where's the money going to be, a couple of years from now.
And it seems like that's sort of like a lot of things to juggle all at once, like looking at, okay, like maybe I do some things that I enjoy, or maybe I do some things that make money and things that don't make money, but some of the not making money things feed the money making things, and maybe I'm working towards someone in the future. So to sort of help us make sense of all that, could you walk us through some sort of a case study of maybe someone you helped, and maybe you came to them and their business just had all this stuff and you helped them get their focus fixed and their branding fixed, but without killing the goose that laid the golden eggs, if that makes sense?
Well, there was I worked with a person who's she was a woman doctor in Canada, actually, and she does a number of different things, as a lot of doctors do. And then one day we were talking, and she told me about a patient who drove 3 hours to see her, and I said, well, why would they do that? And she gave me a reason. There's a certain type of medicine that she practiced. So kind of a long story short, I actually turned her into the functional medicine doc. And now anybody that's typing in functional medicine finds her. She treats people all over the globe. She can treat people through, Skype video and things like that, and just have some tests done locally. And she's in such high demand right now that you actually have to apply to become a patient. So that was a big success story for sure.
Awesome. And so, out of all those things, so a couple things, like, so something that I'm kind of seeing from you and from this doctor is that you both have sort of like a catchy name, right? Like she's the functional medicine doctor and you're the dream business coach. Is that important? Like, should everyone try to have like a nickname or something like that so people know what they do?
Well, it's a little more than a nickname. It's actually a brand. That is part of your brand. You know, when people are going to spend money in something, whether it's to hire somebody to build a website or whether it's a surgeon you need to hire for a certain type of procedure, or there's a certain type of accountant you want to hire, or you need a certain type of insurance, whatever it is, people are going to search for that, right? So if people in her case weren't just searching doctors in the name of her town, they were searching for a certain type of medicine. And even though she practiced it, she didn't accentuate it too much or put it in the spotlight. Well, we completely changed that. I mean, we helped her write a book. She does videos. She's got her own podcast. She's a guest on multiple shows. She's now speaking and things. So we've turned her into a celebrity, which is the fastest way to increase your revenue. So it's a little more than a catchy name. I don't mean to put down the way you said that, but it's really if the name of your business and or your title, so to speak, and then couple that with the tagline that usually follows that, that should paint a very clear picture of the benefit of somebody doing business with you.
Okay, and that makes a lot of sense. And so to figure out that brand, I mean, is there like a logical set of steps there? Like, can someone go back and, like you said with the doctor, like she mentioned this story about like this patient that drove 3 hours to see her. If someone doesn't have that sort of thing, I mean, where do they start? How do they figure out what their brand should be?
Well, I've been a coach for 8 years, help over 100 entrepreneurs, and I'll tell you this: almost nobody can do it for themselves because you're too close to your business. You don't know what the big attraction is. First of all, most of us are taught to be humble, and so it's hard to come up with a brand and a positioning that you feel comfortable promoting. It's easier to have somebody else come up with it. But in reality, I mean, everybody's got a specialty, right? All of my clients have their own specialties. My specialty is branding and marketing, so that's why I do it, and that's kind of primarily what I do. So it's really hard to do it yourself. Like I can't give you a 3-step process on how to do it yourself because your brain just doesn't actually function that way.
Okay, fair enough. And there is something to be said about you looking at someone's business from the outside to sort of see what everyone else sees as opposed to how they see themselves, which is probably not not universal, right?
Most people don't see themselves in a good light, to be honest with you. And that whether you're doing, barely doing 6 figures or multiple 6 figures or a 7 figure business, most people still have a hang up about themselves. So largely what my last book was about, called Decide. It's really a mindset book. And, there's one of the chapters in there I wrote called The Imposter Syndrome. A lot of people suffer with that. No matter how much success you may achieve, a lot of people have this thing about, oh, I'm going to be found out. And that's one of the reasons, actually. It's a pretty heavy duty reason why you can't do this for yourself, because people don't see what other people see when they're looking at you and your business.
Okay, and that makes sense. And so when you are getting people's branding figured out and getting their people's right, I mean, you kind of overcome the things that they lack in where they have the low self-esteem. And so I mean, what do you do exactly to like to revitalize someone's business? I mean, you figure out the branding and I mean, what else? Like, do you figure out like what parts of their business they should not do? Do you tell them they should be blogging more, podcasting more? I mean, what more or less do you have these businesses do?
I teach something called the $1 Million Platform. That's how I've grown multiple successful 6 figure business myself. And it is all about, this is the marketing side. So the $1 Million Platform does consist of many things, everything from email to e-zines to newsletters, print. There's books, there's speaking. And by the way, there's books, there's Kindle, there's audio books, there's other books, there's doing video, there's doing social media. And I'm probably leaving about half a dozen things, but there's this whole platform that I teach because you know what? You may have a pretty good handle or an avatar about who your perfect customer is, but I will tell you this, even though they have several attributes which all help them fit into that avatar, most of them consume information uniquely and differently, right? So in the case of a book, if you say, well, I'm going to be an author, I'm going to write a paperback. Well, some people don't like to, they like to read Kindle, or some people prefer audiobooks because they're in the car all the time, or this, that, or the other thing. And the same thing, some people like to be taught on video. If I'm going to learn something, I'd much rather have a video teach me how to do it than me order a book and have to read it and figure it out. I'd just rather find videos or invest in a course and have somebody show me that way. But everybody learns and consumes information differently. And so usually what happens when I teach the $1 Million Platform, like at my event, people go, "Oh my gosh, that's so much. That's really a lot to do." I said, "Yeah, that's right." And that's why there is the top 1%. Quite honestly, not everybody has the bandwidth or desire or the chutzpah, if you want, to actually do all that.
Right, and I agree that it sounds like a lot of work, but on the other hand, I mean, if you're the person that does that extra little mile, if everyone else only blogs once a month or puts out a podcast episode once a year, if you're doing just a little bit more, then it sounds like a great way to stand out.
It is, and it's a very noisy environment we live in right now, and if you're not standing out, you're not being seen, and that's why it requires you to if you start. One of the things I ask is, if you ask a question that starts with "Can I just?" That's a limiting thought, because you're already saying, I can't do it all, or I don't want to do it all. I prefer not to do it all. "Can I just?" means I just want to take the shortcut. Is there any possible way you can just give me a pill, or show me the shortcut on how to get from here to super successful? And there is none. There is no way to do that.
And so there are no shortcuts, but it sounds like that there are things people should all be doing, like you said, the email, newsletter, some amount of speaking, and then maybe things that maybe they should stay away from as well. Are there things that people should not be doing that are just total time wasters?
Well, yeah, I mean, that would take a whole show in and of itself. But yeah, I mean, your time is your most precious asset. And if you want to earn $1 million a year, if you're going to work 50 weeks a year and you're going to work 50 hours a week, you need to be earning $400 an hour. So if you, as the business owner, are doing things like perhaps task-oriented things, or God forbid, watching TV, or spending 6 hours on social media, or anything that you can hire out or delegate, then you are worth exactly what it would cost you to delegate that to. So, for example, you're overseeing your database, or you're doing other task-oriented work that you could hire a virtual assistant for $25 an hour. That's how much you're worth when you're doing that task. And so when you say, God, I can't crack six figures, or I can't get over 250,000, I wonder why not. It's because you're doing $20 or $30 an hour work.
That makes a lot of sense. And so, sort of out of curiosity, you mentioned that this outsourcing thing is so important, and this $1 Million Platform are so important. I mean, what sort of tasks do you do in your business, Jim, and what tasks do you outsource? I mean, the speaking has to be all you, but is everything else outsourced, or what amount of hands-onness do you have in your business?
So everything is outsourced except coaching my clients, doing interviews like we're doing now, and my marketing. Everything, all of my internet businesses basically run on autopilot because I have a team of 13 people. I've trained them and I empower them to take care of things, so I don't even have to touch those. So if you think about what I just said, so my marketing, my coaching, and doing interviews, which is also marketing, those are all what I call high revenue generating activities. That's all I focus on. Everything else is delegated.
Awesome. So if an email comes out, it's delegated. If there's social media postings, it's delegated. If there's music added to your podcast, that's delegated. Is that right?
That's correct.
Cool. And then, so when you have that team of 13 people, how do you keep managing those people from becoming a new job in and of itself?
I have a project manager, and we use project management software, so everybody knows what everybody else is doing. But I do have a kind of a team lead, team manager, so to speak.
And did you start with that, or did this team you're building, did it sort of grow, and then that was something that had to come later?
It grew into that, but honestly, after I had my fifth or sixth person, I elevated one of the people that have been with me the longest to client service manager, and she oversees all the other folks who are doing the various tasks, and she keeps a tight rein on everything.
Okay, and so it sounds like you said at the beginning of this call that you're the dream business coach. So is this what the dream business is, just as far as something that you can show up, do only the things you want to do, and there are those high revenue generating activities? Is that the dream business, or is the dream business something else?
That's a big part of it. Now, there are certain elements of a dream business. So I describe a dream business as a business that continues to grow even during, a crappy economy. It has multiple streams of revenue. It becomes an asset for worry-free retirement. It's fun to operate. It provides the lifestyle you want to live, and it also allows you to give back and make a difference in the lives of others. Now, those are the business side of what a dream business is. Other people have their own personal side. For example, I do all my coaching calls, I do all my interviews 3 days a week. So if I wanted to take off Monday and Friday and have either a 3 day or a 4 day weekend, I could do that. In reality, if I'm not on vacation or going to see one of my grandkids or something like that, I am working, but I have the flexibility because there are no calls scheduled on the off days, and that's important to me. That's part of the dream business that I wanted to set up.
And that's really important to me too. And I mean, I honestly didn't use the calendar, the scheduler too much until maybe a year or two ago, and or maybe a little bit longer than that. But I really resisted using that calendar because I thought to myself, well, I don't want to be stuck at the computer all the time. I don't want to have this new job that was more hours than back when I did have a day job. And so I can totally feel for you, and I can totally relate in that. I use the calendar a lot more, and things are a lot more structured, but I as well, like, I make sure to only put things on certain days. That way, if I wanted to have the whole rest of the week free, or if I wanted to not be at home, I could.
Right. Yep. That's very important to do that because if you don't, you're going to be working 24/7, and no, I don't think anybody becomes an entrepreneur to be chained to their job.
No, I mean, it doesn't sound like fun at all as far as what you're trying to accomplish. And so you have those boundaries set. And I mean, is there any time when, like your project manager or someone just comes to you with like a something urgent or an emergency? Does that ever happen?
Sure, I have a weekly call with the team lead, so I know what's going on. It's not like I'm just like see you later. I have a weekly call with the people who are doing the biggest heavy lifting, and there's a few people that have my cell phone. Not everybody, and if they need me, they can reach me. But more importantly, I've trained them, and I've also empowered them just to take care of it. I said, don't make me the bottleneck. You know what to do. Fix it. And that's where most people fall down as leaders is they don't trust their people to make decisions. Even if they have in their gut they know what the right decision is, they'd rather just get the boss to clear it. And I said that's not going to happen here. You make the decision. I'll never jump on you for making a good decision and what you think is the best way to fix it. After I hear about it or you share it with me, I may say, that's interesting. Here's another way to do that in the future. But that's all. And people feel like if you got their back, they're going to have yours.
That makes sense, and kind of almost like letting them make their own mistakes. And so, has that ever backfired on you? Has anyone ever like made the wrong decision and that just really messed things up?
No, never.
Okay, cool. And so then my next kind of question is so you talked about branding and stuff like that, and you say that you're the newsletter guru. So could you kind of tell us about that? Because when I hear newsletter, I'm not sure these days if that means like something in print or an email. So can you kind of tell us about how you're the newsletter guru?
It's the first brand I created, and it is print and mail, paper and ink newsletters. I started in the newsletter business 15 years ago. In 2007, I created No Hassle Newsletters, which really skyrocketed my business, and that is the brand I created. I mean, it's an ideal example of what I teach, and what I do for others. I created the newsletter guru and started marketing myself that way.
And so, I mean, is this still relevant in this day and age, all this print stuff?
Absolutely. Do you do email marketing, Robert?
Yes, I do.
Do you know what your deliverability and more importantly your open rate is?
These days, not really, especially with the Gmail changes and things like that.
That's right. So for easy math, let's say you got 1,000 people on your list. You're going to be darn lucky if you get 100 of them probably more like 50 of them to actually open and read your email these days. I mean, seriously, if you got a 10% open rate, you're a rock star internet marketer. And but what that means, the flip side of that is 900 of your clients are not hearing from you if you rely on email alone. Yet if you put something in the mail, it's going to hit somebody's mailbox. It will always get delivered unless you the occasional guy who throws the mail in the trash or something. But really, 99% of the time, even with the U.S. Post Office, your marketing material, your communication that you have with your customers is going to be delivered.
And that makes a lot of sense, and I agree with you. And especially when something comes in the mail, if something just looks like it comes in a regular size envelope, and it looks like it's not a bill and it's some kind of spam, it goes in the garbage. But if it's a larger package, and I'm thinking, well, maybe this is something that I paid for, so I need to open this up and pay attention to it.
Exactly.
And so when we're talking about a newsletter, I mean, what is that exactly like as far as like is this like a monthly thing? Is it paid? And how long is like how many pages is this newsletter?
It's usually a 4-page newsletter mailed monthly, and you mail it to your customers. I don't necessarily do internal company newsletters. I'm all about customer, client, or patient newsletters. It's a way to stay top of mind, keep them informed. It's a way to tell them about other things that you do in the business besides the usually one thing they know you for. So it's a way to get more repeat business from customers. It's also a way to, because you're staying top of mind. If somebody wants to refer you, they're actually going to remember your name.
Okay, and a lot of the math on that and the numbers make a lot of sense in that. Okay, so it's only 4 pages, so it doesn't cost that much to print it and mail it. And then you say that you're sending this is something you're sending to your customers so that they know about the other things that you do. So that way, even though there is somewhat of an expense, especially if you mail it to thousands of people, you can kind of justify it because these are all people who have previously paid you money. Is that correct?
That is correct. Well, paid you money or they expressed an interest in some way. So somebody may, and it all depends on the business. Somebody could come in and let's say they go get their hearing checked. You obviously got their information, but then it's called a test but no purchase. I would put those people on the mailing list because they're eventually going to buy, right? So there's a lot of businesses like that. If you've got a name and address of somebody who's either a previous customer or has expressed interest in what you do, I would be mailing them.
Okay, and how do you capture those addresses? Are you getting them from your shopping cart, or are you like making sure that your opt-in forms have a physical like city, state, zip, address, stuff like that? Like how are you getting these physical addresses?
Well, it depends. I mean, obviously, if you're a brick and mortar store, that's easier. But if you're strictly an online business, but you ship product, well, you're going to get it that way. If you're an online business that doesn't ship anything, I'm trying to figure out why they would want to mail you. So, in some way, shape, or form, if somebody expresses interest in either purchases, or if you're savvy at all in internet marketing, you got to do some kind of a lead magnet to capture the information. The first kind of foray, if you will, into internet marketing is you're not going to ask for their address right off the bat. You're usually going to give somebody something for free, perhaps getting an email and a name, but then deliver something else a little bit down the road, or do an offer, a tripwire type thing where you offer to give them something of value for a couple bucks or $7 or something like that, and then you can capture their mailing address.
Okay, and I like that strategy in that, some of us might only be selling digital products, but if we can, whip up a quick, low ticket item, even something that we lose little bit of money on or we break even on, then that's a way that we can then capture that address. And you're sending in this monthly newsletter, that's 4 pages. And so do you have any sort of like set structure for it? Because I know you said that you mentioned like what's going on and other things you do, but do you have like a format like, here's this month's article or here's this month's announcements, or is it you just start typing?
No, no, no. If people want to see what my templates look like, they get a good education. They can go to nohasslenewsletters.com. That's my website, nohasslenewsletters.com. You can see examples of 13 different templates we create every month, but there is a specific mix of content. Some of it is business related and some of it is not. But there needs to be a good mix Otherwise, you're going to bore the heck out of your customers. People don't actually want to read all about your business and what you do and things like that. So there needs to be a mix of what I call relevant and non-relevant material.
Okay, and I'm paging through some of these examples for your from your No Hassle newsletters, and I'm seeing that some of them have longer articles, but then some of these pages have things like Sudoku puzzles and cool things like that, and like little tidbits and jokes and stuff.
That's right, because people enjoy that stuff. So if they're going to look at your newsletter, do you want them to have a feeling, and I mean an actual feeling in the gut, well, this is fun, I'm glad I opened this, or do you want them to feel, oh, geez, my dentist sent me a newsletter and there's 4 pages of before and after gum disease pictures? I mean, how often are they going to read that newsletter?
I mean, yeah, if I have fun with it one time, then I'll use it over. I'll read the next one over and over again.
That's right, you look forward to it.
And so, do you? You mentioned a few minutes ago that a really disadvantage of email marketing is that you can't track everything, and that it's becoming less and less responsive. So, do you do any sort of like accounting magic where maybe if you send out if you have a customer, maybe they bought like a tripwire offer, you send out this newsletter, and then maybe they go and they buy something higher ticket. Do you have any way of tracking that, or do you do any looking back and seeing how effective the newsletter is?
Yeah, we can track all that. Yep, we've got different mechanisms in place. I know exactly where somebody comes from, when they got on the list, what they bought, or did they opt in. I know everything about them when they get on my in my software.
And what software is that?
Well, I use one shopping cart and I use a few other things that I'm not going to share on your show, actually. There's some things that I use that I can track people. I know how long they've been on the website, what they looked at. I know if there's a video. I know how long they've been watching the video, at what point they jumped off. And we can tailor different responses to different people in different ways, depending on those behaviors, actually.
Okay, cool. And then so how exactly does the newsletter side of things fit in with the branding side of things? I mean, when you make over someone's business more or less, like is the newsletter like one of the first things they should do, or is that something that comes further down the line?
No, a newsletter, you should be sending out a newsletter. In fact, if somebody starts a brand new business and they get their first, second, or third customer, you should be sending out a newsletter. Now, it's probably going to cost you three or $4 a piece, if you're only printing a couple, but you should be doing that because at what point do you say, okay, now I have enough. Now it's worth it for me to pay attention to these customers. You should be paying attention to your first customer because that customer, you want them to come back and buy again. You want them to buy something in addition to whatever it is the first thing they bought. So, you're taking a repeat customer, but actually having them buy different things. And then you also want them to refer. And really the only way to do that is to stay top of mind. And the best way to do that is to be mailing a monthly newsletter. So that's a very important part of it.
And that makes a lot of sense. And as we were talking today about branding and about newsletters and stuff like this, it's always kind of strange how like everything old is new again, and how even as we were getting ramped up here, I was kind of thinking in the back of my mind like, well, aren't people like reading stuff on their tablets or whatever? But the more I think about it, I mean, if not, if a lot of people are missing out on this newsletter thing and you're one of the few people that still send out a physical newsletter, that sounds like a really good way to stand out, especially because, well, if people are reading less, I mean, who cares? People still get things in the mail, and if they'll pay more attention to this big thing that comes in the mail, it sounds like.
That's right. The thing is, if more people understood the average lifetime value of a customer, I say they wouldn't be so cheap with doing marketing to them, spending money like on a newsletter and other things like that. If you're a dentist, I have several dentists in my program, and I know the average patient over the lifetime has as much as $20,000 to $25,000 of value. And I tell if a dentist was new to my program, he says, "Oh, I don't want to spend $1 a piece. I've got 400 customers." I said, "Well," he goes, "How many should I mail?" I said, "Just mail the ones you want to keep." I mean, it's really being pretty cheap. The largest cost that most businesses have is the cost of acquiring a new customer. So knowing that, why do you just want to assume they're going to come back and they're going to assume they're going to remember who you are? And are you going to assume that they're going to learn about all the other things that you sell and all the other ways that you can help them with your different services? Or is it your job as the business owner to constantly remind them and constantly be in front of them?
Yeah, it's like it sounds like there is a cost to putting out a newsletter, but in the same way, like there's a cost to having a website, to sending out these emails, and if you don't want to pay that cost, then you're going to lose those customers.
I think that's right.
Cool. I mean, we're on the same page there. So could you tell us how people can find out more about you, how they can find out about the newsletter business, the branding business, and anything else you want to tell people about?
Yeah, sure. Thanks. The home base is getjimpalmer.com, www.getjimpalmer.com. And from there, you'll see links up and down the right hand column there for the newsletters, my books, my videos, my podcast, my coaching program. Everything is on the homepage of getjimpalmer.com.
Perfect. So that makes it nice and easy. Not a lot of websites to remember. Just get
Yeah, not too
Jim.
much to remember, you know.
Right. I mean, it's all linked to from there. So cool. So getjimpalmer.com. And I mean, I want to thank you, Jim, for stopping by and telling us and reminding us and giving us some new insights in not only how some of these things that we might have overlooked in the past, like newsletters, are so important, but also this whole branding thing, or maybe, we see what others are doing on the outside and we don't quite know, how they arrived at that brand, or we didn't quite know how they got from there to here. And so I really appreciated sort of hearing a little bit of the inside scoop on that, in some of these people, like the doctor you helped, or your own business, on these two very important things, branding and newsletters. So thanks so much for stopping by, Jim. And the website is getjimpalmer.com. So thanks for telling us what you had to tell us today, Jim.
My pleasure, Robert. Thanks for having me on.
This is Robert Plank, co-creator of Website Remote, and I have a quick question for you. How much time do you spend every month maintaining your WordPress sites? I'm talking about keeping track of your websites, what's installed on those websites, and the passwords you use to log in to each of those websites. Do you use the same password for all your sites? That's bad. Do you have to log in to each and every site every time you need to perform an update? That's also bad. If you want a quick, clean, and super easy way to monitor and update your WordPress sites, here's the solution: Website Remote. With Website Remote, you can manage and maintain all your WordPress sites with the click of a button. Check it out and claim your access today at websiteremote.com/try.